On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Tim Brown about brand safety and taking his message to the people. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hasseman, and with me today is a rock star in the industry. He is the Executive Director of Operations for QCA, Tim Brown. Tim, thanks so much for joining me again.
It's wonderful to be back, Kirby. Thanks for inviting me again, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So when we last spoke, you were brand new to QCA, and you kind of shared some of the ideas and vision for what you wanted to do. So I guess the question is, how is that vision shaping up, and what are some of your thoughts for the future?
Well, things are shaping up. Sometimes I can be skeptical at times, so or a little bit of my own critic. So they're shaping up really well. It's been a whirlwind of a year. Things are going great. I would like to have had certain things move along a little faster than is presently going. But with that, I say I don't mean that in a bad way. It's going well. We set out to accomplish a few primary objectives, and that's to, one, review what we were doing and how we were doing it. We want to establish partnerships with marketing and procurement and compliance organizations kind of outside our industry. That helps us to promote who we are and gets a foothold out there. It lends credibility and legitimacy to what we do. Because that was one of the biggest things when I came in, that we really weren't known too much outside the industry. You had this great product, and it really wasn't well known. So we set out to do that, and part of that then was to create an awareness amongst end buyers. I've long said in the industry that we can't be afraid to have this conversation anymore.
Right.
You know, and PPAI does a wonderful job putting information out, but then when people go and get in front of the customer, are they comfortable with this conversation? And in most cases, they're not. Even when they've gotten educated and understand it, they don't. So we've taken it kind of upon ourselves a little bit to go out there, share the message, see what's happening, and through that, it's been received pretty well. It's been received pretty well. I'm really surprised at how it's gone over with the end buyers. And the final thing that we set out to do was dispel some common misconceptions about QCA as to what we are, what we do, what we're about. And I would say those four things, being the primary objectives, I think we've accomplished all of those goals. I personally had some other things, and some of them are still work in progress. It's not like boom, you flip a switch and it's done.
No, for sure.
It's going well.
Well, yeah, it's great, and I'm super glad to hear that. And you kind of alluded to it, I think, here in that the answer to the last question. But you've had a year under your belt, kind of delivering that brand safety message to the buyers, right, of promotional products. So what have you learned from that, from those conversations? What gets attention and what doesn't?
I have learned a lot about marketing and exhibiting personally. I've working at PPAI, being in this industry, being part of a regional association, helping to put on shows, that's one thing. But to stand in a booth, to try to get people to come into your booth, to get people's attention, to get word out, that's been new to me. It's been a great learning experience. At the same time, it's given me a deeper appreciation for what people in our industry do, to stand on a trade show floor at Expo. Hours upon hours upon hours, and I'm doing it in short bursts or for 4 hours at a time, things like that in between sessions at these events. So that's been new. All that said, I've been validated in my conviction that I said earlier. I mentioned that this message resonates with end buyers, and it really does.
Right.
They get it. It's not something that people look unfavorably upon, which I think is a common fear within the industry. The majority of people I talk with, they actually thank us for doing what we're doing. They're appreciative when I say what the industry trade association is doing. And it's really, if there's anything I've learned, is surprisingly, but not surprisingly, I've learned how little respect the outside community or outside of our industry, how little respect they have for our industry. Just I cringe every time, and when I hear tchotchke, when I hear throwaways, cheap giveaways, trinkets and trash, those phrases go right through me, and I hear it all the time in the booth. because my approach with these people is I have nothing to sell you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here creating awareness, and I'm going to send you back to your office with some value, something you can do to protect your brand. And they kind of look at me puzzled, and I say, they're like, what do you mean? And I explain to them, I'm sure you use promotional products. Oh, yeah, they're all over the place. And, not sure who's buying it or I buy it or whatever they're, wherever it's being bought in their organization. I say, well, I'm not here to sell you them. I'm here to educate you about what a great medium they are, but at the same time, how you want to ask certain questions to make sure that you're protecting yourself with them. Mm-hmm. And right away, they launch into the negatives of promotional products and the negative images. Yet at the same time, they agree with me every time I say, everybody loves stuff. They're a great marketing medium. People keep them, and they're like, oh, yeah, and they get that. But they just don't respect the medium. And I feel like that's where our message is changing that narrative when I'm talking with them, because they're like, oh, wow. Okay, so you guys are, in some cases, they assume certain things are being done. But then when they hear the lengths to what companies do to ensure that the supply chain is free, or you're mitigating the risk of human rights violations, that you're out there protecting people from injury, or that you're making sure there's a quality product that doesn't fall apart the minute it leaves the trade show, that there's environmentally friendly practices and those types of things, they're appreciative of it. And then we get into more dialogue. So, it's an education moment when I'm out with these people.
Right.
It truly is. It's an opportunity to turn the tables. I acknowledge their perception, because let's be honest, the race to the bottom in price has yielded an industry that has hurt itself in certain ways from a respect standpoint or a positive perception. But when I share all the stuff that PPAI is doing through the Get in Touch campaign and just from my own experience in the industry and the love of the industry, it turns this into a positive conversation. And we talk about how great the medium is compared to other advertising mediums, and explain to them, I'm losing my train of thought. I get going here. I start.
No, for sure. So what it reminds me of, Tim, is that we as an industry, and you're certainly doing this, but I think we as an industry need to really think and be intentional about the story we're telling about our industry. We need to do a better job of telling our story, and telling, it from a, not only the positives, just the facts, right? But also just, as you said, not trying to participate in the race to the bottom. I think that's super important. Yeah.
And that's what's so key. And that's what my message at the end of the day, really today when we started talking about this, is I wanted it to be about.
Yeah.
I'm not out there just talking compliance.
Right.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love this industry. I love the people in this industry. I'm proud to be part of this industry. And like I said a minute ago, I cringe when those negative perceptions and certain terminology comes up. I was listening to Danny Rosen's Common SKU, or SKU Camp interview or presentation just the other day. I pulled it up, was listening, and he made the same comment.
Yeah.
That those types of words just cringe. And I think if you love this industry, you take offense at that.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean I just accept it? No. Do I acknowledge it? Yes.
Sure.
And part of my message when I'm out there talking about this is a valuable medium. This is an awesome medium. At the same time, you got to be conscious of where you're putting your brand.
Yeah.
And so I talk a lot about brand safety. And brand safety is a word commonly used at a lot of these events I go to when I'm at marketing events. It's kind of one of the buzzwords now in marketing, but they always associate it with social media. Are we positioned next to certain ads or commentary that's detrimental to us that we could be negatively associated with? I've been reading articles where people are starting to pull some of their ads from YouTube because they're popping up next to the wrong kind of content.
Right.
So I always try to talk with them and say, it's not just that. Brand safety is everywhere your logo is.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And once they understand that, we kind of are able to reel them in and get them on board with our message.
No, that's great, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in that way. So you've talked about how you've kind of had that conversation with the end buyer, but how's the industry so far accepted your message?
The industry, it's interesting there. I have had people tell me, love the idea, that's great, it's what your organization's needed to do for a long time to get yourself on the map, but we're going to take a wait and see attitude, especially those that are really kind of, they're on that fence. Do we go through the accreditation process? Do we join the Distributor Advocacy Council? Do we not? They're watching us. They're telling me that, look, we like the approach you're taking, and it is important. At the same time, we want to wait and see how well it resonates.
Right.
And that's one of the things is I'm seeing it start to resonate, but it won't happen overnight to where it trickles through. I will say I was at the Product Responsibility Summit a few months ago when PPAI put it on, and a number of people came up to me and said, more and more of my customers, and these are distributors obviously, more and more of my customers are starting to come up and ask me specifically about QCA.
Right.
And in other cases, some suppliers were telling me at the same event, I'm getting more inquiries about our accreditation because of, or from our distributors. And then I have to say it, hopefully because of me being out there, but time will tell on that. So with that, I think there's some issues, in the industry yet that were perceived as a threat, especially if I'm going out and I'm talking about compliance and buyers, if you're not involved, how does that look on your organization? So, this isn't the answer for everybody, and there's more than one way to handle brand safety and responsible sourcing and those types of things. We're not the only way, and I make sure to communicate that message. I like to think we're the top of the mountain, though. If you're looking for what is the best practice, yes, I think, but it's not the only way. And so that's where I get into some misconceptions in the industry and mending fences, and I've done a lot of that this year. That's one of the things when I mentioned earlier about changing perceptions in the industry. I've really tried to get out there and talk with people about this is what we're really about. We're not about exclusivity. We're not about protecting certain companies. This is an industry thing, and it's about, at the end of the day, bringing standards to the industry and parties from the outside making sure the industry is doing what they say they're doing.
Yeah, that's it.
So
that's really good stuff. If there's a takeaway, I just think we all, obviously you're doing the part and kind of being an ambassador in that way, and I certainly appreciate it. But I think we all need to do a better job of representing who and what we are as an industry, and I think it'll be good for us all. So, you've been so kind as to answer my 3 questions. I appreciate it, and I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
Of course I do. And staying in line with kind of what I've talked about, and this has been another common theme at a lot of the marketing events. It's more, they call it branding with purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that common theme in the marketing community of branding with a purpose, how have you, Herbie Hassman, how have you defined your purpose in Hassman Marketing, and how do you communicate that to your clients?
No, it's a great question. I mean, ironically, I would say that one of our missions is to deliver marketing joy. That's the name of the show, and it's and I think that one of the things we want to do, just from a base level, it helps the way we make decisions, is to try to be joyful in every transaction, and try to make it fun to do business with us. We feel like if that's the case, then people will continue to do business with us. In addition, I think one of the things that we take pride in is giving back in our community. And we do that in a variety of ways, whether it's donating services, donating product, donating time. And I think that's one of those things where the way that we kind of bring that to bear is we try to do that as a team. So in other words, hey, this is a cause that sort of matters to us. Or we have a little committee internally that we say, hey, these are all the requests we've gotten, and we want to make sure that we consistently do that. And then moving forward, what we're going to try to do is to donate, put a percentage to it. So in other words, as we do our finances, we actually kind of have not a line item, but just a thing. Hey, this amount of money is going to go toward passion projects for us. And I think that that's the kind of thing that everybody on the team gets excited about because, hey, it shows a way that if we're profitable and we're doing well, that we can make a difference. And so that's, I think, the answer to the question. So.
No, I think it's a great answer. And I want to comment that often that's the missing piece or forgotten piece. when people talk about social responsibility, it's common to talk about the human rights and working conditions and all of that. But another part of that is what are you giving back to your community, and how are you active in your community, and how are you being a steward within the community, and it all rolls in together. So I thought that was a great answer, and I commend you guys for doing that. I hope that anybody watching this, tell that stuff. When you do that, it's not, individually we do things, we give, and a lot of times you want to keep it quiet because you don't want to be a braggart, or you don't want to look, what's the intention behind it.
Right.
But I think from a business standpoint, you should put that out there and let people know, because it is important to make sure that people know that you're invested in your community.
Man, that's good advice.
Great answer.
Thanks, Tim. Well, hey, this was fun. We've done it before. We'll have to do it again, okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, cool. Well, that wraps up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.